What? What? What is so funny?
My God, everything that it took for me to get here.
Well, I cannot hear you. What'd you say?
Everything that it took for me to get here and to be in this position.
Dude, this day, this day has like been brought to you by the Swamp Thing. It's like terrible. I mean, not even bad terrible, like my
Mm-mm.
dog didn't die or anything. I don't have a dog. But it's just been like a very, very peculiar day. I mean, it's so bad. Like, listen, this day has been brought to me by Lay's potato chips because when things go sideways, all it takes is a bag of Lay's. I can generally keep my shit together.
So
I'm just saying.
turn my phone off. All right. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. It was just a really crazy, like, I'm everybody needs to get onto this. So I'm sharing this with everyone to get their butt here. And that is what I'm doing right now.
I'm gonna
Oh,
look at it on my phone.
this is hilarious.
Oh crap! Now I'm watching Us on my phone. No, no, stop. Okay, I can't look at it now. Apparently, I was just watching Us on delay.
Colin, why are you being so why are you being so silly?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a rough day. But here we are. We have a lot to talk about, and I do want to talk about it. But I mean, and I know that it's not really good to start the topic of the day off topic, but I have got to just talk about something that I heard as I was driving back from picking up my bag of lace, and it was that the leader of our nation is questioning Kamala Harris's citizenship. Did you hear this?
No, but I just it's like it's so dumb.
It's so dumb, but it keeps happening. I feel like I'm in bizarro world and nobody will let me out, and even the chips can't save me.
No, but maybe the first one.
Oh, you got French fries at see, man. This is why we get along so well. So beautiful. All right, but we can come back to that. I'm just saying it might have me a little bit agitated. Well, I mean that and about 50 other things, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, because it's dumb, right? It's dumb.
It's just dumb.
But here's the deal. I don't think it's off topic. I don't think it's off topic in a sense because we're discussing being an ally, allyship. No. Dun, 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 dun.
The axis of allies. Dun, dun, dun.
And it's sort of like he is deciding. So Joe Biden chose her, right? He he feels a kinship to her. He feels aligned with her.
He
He,
feels like she whooped his ass in a debate and he's grown up enough to be able to say, all right, you got me. I can still be an adult and
but,
come to this discussion with you.
but we can be allies, and we can be allies for a much bigger cause, right? The greater good. He understood. He very specifically said, "I want to choose a black female." He has been very concise about saying that, right? He didn't say, "Oh, I want to choose a woman of color," or "I want to choose a brown skin." He said, I want a black woman." Well, now, what Trump is doing by making that statement, by questioning her, I
Hold
like,
on, Nikki. I got to interrupt you real quick. Your sound is in and out and in and out. I keep losing you. Like
oh,
every other word.
oh no. Okay, I'm going to do this really quick. Can you hear me?
Get a little closer. Don't be shy. Get a little closer. With lace. Okay, sorry.
You're
I'm
aging
back.
yourself. You are aging yourself, girl. That's like saying
Hey,
sleeping in
listen.
bed. singing the Arid Extra Dry commercial, that's like singing Calgon Take Me Away.
You know what? I use Looney Tune references all the time. People don't know what Looney Tunes is anymore. I'm just saying. So I date myself all the time. You know what? I am a proud child of the 80s. If I could get some shoulder pads right now, I would be wearing them, and I would wear them with glee.
Well,
Hey, Des.
some of us came on to planet Earth with the linebacker arms.
I don't think there are any shoulders too big for shoulder pads, and I mean it.
We digress. Always.
Oh, yeah. Always. Okay. So, yes, agreed.
Basically, the drunk is saying, I don't think that she's a good ally for this country. He is questioning her ability to be an ally.
No, I don't think that's what you mean 45. That's not what he's questioning. He's questioning she's a brown woman. That's what he's questioning.
Yes, but he did that to throw in, right? He did that to make his base question her ability to be an ally. You can't question Joe Biden. First of all, his name is Joe. It's like white guy, right? Second
Oh
off,
my God, oh my God, I don't know any black people named Joe. Holy shit.
total white guy. And it doesn't mean that there aren't black people named Joe or Joseph. Come on, people. I see you. I see your brains working. That's not what I said. But it's a white guy name. Joe. Like, not Joey. It's Joe. Joe is a white guy name. It's a white guy name. Right? John
Yeah.
Doe. Oh, John Doe. Jane Doe. In your mind, you go, oh, unknown dead body or unknown person. Wait. You don't think, you know what I mean? Maybe it should be like, Tyrone.
I was gonna say there's no like Lamangelo Doe. I've never seen it. LaFonda Doe. I mean, I have. So yeah, the point of that story is, yes, I mean, and I see where you're going with that, but I feel like it's not about questioning her ability as an ally. I feel like it's questioning her ability, her validity to be, I mean, first he tried the citizenship question, which obviously we have birthright citizenship here. But to pose that question is to question her validity, not just as an ally, but as a person who is going to be a part of the infrastructure that runs this country, the ruling class.
The simple folk, paw and paw pedal, that is the same thing. They are looking to give being an ally. There is a choosing of a side.
I can't hear you. You're like hiccupy.
You go, you run wild, you run naked through the forest with your spear. I'm gonna go get my haircut.
I mean, I would rather wear something much better than just like being naked if I'm running through the forest. I feel like I would accessorize properly. Anyway, so while she's doing stuff, our topic today is allyship and what goes into it, what should not go into it. You know, we have these ideas of what an ally is, but what is it that it means to each of us? So we got some information from folks, but oh, she's back and she's chewing. She had some snacks. She messed up her sound on purpose. Yeah, so here we go. Des says it's always conquer and divide. Yes. When you can put cracks into the, not the pavement, but when you can put cracks into the structure and create questions. And we're in a stage right now in our country where up is down, right is wrong, and QAnon's conspiracy bullshit theories are running the world. Do you hear that echo?
No. Do you hear me?
I hear you just fine. Now you're much clearer, but now I'm echoing and I haven't touched a thing except for my glass of water. Anyway, we're in this time when right is wrong, up is down, like I was saying before, and there are some Dunkovs out there that are going to take this and run. And that is the scary thing when you have a despot running the country, is that he's got an audience of, I mean, what's the term? I don't want to say zombies. I appreciate
They're
zombies.
lemmings. They're lemmings for sure.
I don't like birds. So lemmings are fine. But an audience of lemmings that are just willing to beat that drum. And so questioning her validity is a big deal because these people are going to, just like they did with birtherism.
Right.
Here we go again.
Right. Well, I think that's a good segue. So what Misty and I did was we kind of broke down. I sort of did this from the version from the perspective of Mad Magazine, Alfred E. Newman. I guess I am aging myself. Yes, Mad Magazine, Spy versus Spy. Don't hate. And it's sort of like these different perspectives of what is allyship. And the first one that we came up with was from afar, being an ally from afar. Don't get too close, because whether you're trying to remain anonymous, whether you're covert ops about your ability to support, at the end of the day, it's allyship from afar, where you don't want to get singed or burned. And I guess for me, the allyship from afar, which is where I was going with when you said this, there are, not that they're allies, but there are people who will literally say, I've had this conversation. Yes, the Stepford families.
Yes, those bastards.
I feel like I just said that to someone today. I did. So when I hear someone say, oh, it's really gross when Trump says grab him by the pussy, but I still like him. And I'm like, what does that mean? Or, well, he might be racist, but he's right about China. And I'm like, where are we going with this? Like, what is that frame of reference? Because at the end of the day, whether he's right or wrong about China, whether he's racist, he's the leader of this country. So he can't pick and choose, which he actually is, who he's going to align himself with, because he's supposed to be leading. So I think what some of his followers do is they like what he does. They like what they think that he stands for. They like the power that he appears to have, and they align with the things that work for them, but take a step back from the things that don't. But the two, you really can't do both when he's president of the country. So that being said, by default, for the same people to say, yeah, I don't think that black people should have a knee on their neck while they're being arrested, potentially for a counterfeit bill, but it's okay that Trump is president, and it's okay that he's sending military in for peaceful protest.
But I don't know that those people say that. I think those are the same people that say, well, dude, you got a knee on your neck because you did something bad, and therefore you deserve that knee. I don't think those people are allies. I think the allies from afar are the ones that are the Stepford families. I really believe in your cause, Nikki. I believe in it. I think every family in America should have Fruit Loops. Everyone should have Fruit Loops. It's a really important cereal. But you know what? My mom and dad were anti-sugar growing up, and so I couldn't possibly go home and tell them I believe in Fruit Loops for all, because they were against sugar. And so they want the moniker, they want the label of ally, but
Right.
they're not necessarily comfortable with presenting themselves that way outside of somebody for whom being an ally would look good for.
Yes, except there's a whole contingency of people, which I only know this because I work with them. They're clients of mine. I'm not going to go into great detail. I will only say that they are Orthodox Jewish. And it's really interesting because they're really conservative. And they actually prefer Trump as president. And I
Well,
had,
but that's different. I that you that's a tricky one. And
I know,
you know why that's tricky. That has
of
nothing to do with his
course,
policies, with his procedures about anything other than Israel.
except, 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 I had a conversation with one. Well, I sort of had a conversation with one of my clients, and these are lovely people. I have been affiliated with this family. I've worked with this family for almost 10 years, so this is not a new relationship. And I am very respectful of their culture. I wear long sleeves. Like, I'm just giving a background if anyone knows anything about Orthodox Jewish families and cultures. Had covered everything, right? And so I'm very respectful of their culture. And I got into a conversation with one of the daughter-in-laws, and I'm probably old enough to be her mom. Well, I'm actually for sure, if you go by the basis of Orthodox Judaism in terms of when they start to have kids, I am absolutely for sure old enough to be her mom. But what she said to me was so antiquated. She literally said, "Well, it's not like you're still slaves." And I was like, and I I had to I had to think about my client, who is at the same time, she's my angel client, and this is her niece. And I had to think about perspective, because Orthodox Jewish, I'm not speaking about all Orthodox Jewish people. I'm speaking about the family that I work with. They are cloistered, and they do not know a lot about what's going on planet Earth. They really don't. There's whole sects of this family that actually they don't have internet. They don't go on
Okay.
social media. Like, they have flip phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just laying the
Well, for
groundwork,
the
giving.
love of Pete, then why are they allowed to vote?
And so when she said it, I said, okay, Nikki, this is not your 25-year-old self, so you probably shouldn't say fuck you.
Good. Good.
I had to put my big girl pants on, and I said, I said, we're not continuing this conversation because you are coming from an uneducated place. And then she said some other stuff, and I said, no, no. I said, you do not know what you speak of. I said, you are not educated on this subject matter. And I said, and in stark contrast, I have learned quite a bit about the Orthodoxy, and I'm very respectful of your family, although I don't agree with a lot of what goes on. It's a highly, what I feel is grossly patriarchal society. Women are demeaned and belittled.
Misogynistic for
It's
sure.
very misogynistic, and this is what I have witnessed. No matter how subtle, but it is what I have witnessed. and I've had conversations, and people run in all different spectrums, right? But this particular niece, I give you the frame of reference from my client. Um, she continued, she wanted to talk, and I said, no, I said, I'm not having this conversation from you. I said, you are literally ignorant of this subject matter. And I said, I've always been very respectful of your family, your culture. I said, I will always be. I said, I make no judgments. I said, but what you are doing right now is wholly disrespectful. And I said, and to come out the gate with, well, it's not like you're still enslaved, is bullshit. And these are people like, I don't curse in front of them, like I don't like nothing, like I'm super, and it's not like they don't curse, but I just, I want to be respectful, and I don't want to even remotely appear judgmental, even though there are whole aspects of their life, the way that they live, that I don't agree with. It's very demeaning to women. But of course, that's my opinion. That's my perspective. So to her credit, she came back like 2 days later, and she had done some research, albeit shallow, but nevertheless, she apologized. And but she is someone who believes that Trump is in the right place, and so she's an uneducated ally.
How is she an ally?
She believes that because of his views, and that to Trump, not to everyone else, to Trump. She is blindly following him. And I think that is an interesting thing, because I think, which I'm jumping ahead, when you talk about the I don't see color and that disconnect, it's, in this respect, it's not necessarily color, it's some of the views that he aligns with. She's willing to overlook the other aspects, which to me says she's not seeing the whole person. She's not seeing the whole being of who he is.
But that's a choice.
Oh, absolutely.
So then, I mean, if you're choosing not to see, and you're choosing to make that decision, whether educated or not educated, it doesn't matter. That's your decision not to see is 100%
every white person needs
a statement. Yeah. And that statement is the worst thing that you could say.
Okay, pause. So Aaron, is it Aaron Hogg? I don't want to pronounce your name wrong. Haig. But so here's the Haig. Okay. So here's the deal, Aaron, about
Thanks
white.
For listening, Aaron.
Yes, about white fragility. So here's the deal. That chick, which her name is escaping me. I was just having this conversation with my ex and his girlfriend. And I'm just going to give you perspective. My ex is Greek. His girlfriend is black. And so we were just having this conversation because she was just found out. The author of White Fragility was just found out for lying about organizations that she donates to.
She doesn't really give any money to anybody. That's what I heard.
Right. And she totally, and like some of it was like native tribes, indigenous to this country. And she like full on lied. I caught the tail end of an interview with a gentleman, black man professor. And I literally caught the tail end. I didn't get anybody's name. I was like coming out of the shower. I was like, Alexa, play NPR. And he was talking about how he's like, her book aligns with the idea that black people can't stand up for themselves, and that black people have to, white people have to be like bend over backwards. And I don't know that that's equity. What sparked my interest was the fact that this gentleman he's like, no, that is not how black people are. Black people can take care of themselves. We're not asking to be coddled. We're not asking to be, don't blanket us, don't wrap us up in like a comforter and give us a bowl of chicken noodle soup. We just want to come to the table and do what everybody else is doing, right?
The New York Times had a big article about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Then she came out like literally right after I heard that. she was found out to be disingenuous. And so it's like, really, really, really? So
I haven't read the book, obviously. I'm told it's a good book regardless. I'm told it's a good starter book for people who don't know where to begin. I personally think that if you want to start a book to figure out where to begin, you need to find a book written by a true ally or
right.
a person of color. Um, so, yeah, Erin, if I can find that New York Times article, because I just had it up on my screen somewhere, but I've got 1,000 windows open, actually just 400. But I will send the link to you because I thought it was a very interesting perspective, and I will tell you I was shocked about it because I know a lot of people who've read this book and they've said it's been life-changing, and it has been the gateway for them. So to hear this, I was really blown away. Did I not finish that sentence, Jessica? That's kind of where I was going, but I got sidetracked. I haven't had
Well,
enough chips.
I had this. Okay, so all of these are. I think so. Just to recap, if you're just starting, like if you're just joining
Welcome to
us,
ThoughtFlow. We did not
welcome.
say
We
that earlier.
didn't even say that. We
Welcome
were
to.
just like, "Wow," just diving right in. So Misty and I have been talking over the past couple of weeks. The subject matter has come up, and it has been around allyship. And we feel that it's important to decode, disseminate, break down, tear apart, just examine, explore, authenticate, maybe not authenticate, what it is to be an ally, and all of these different versions of what allyship is, because it's become this really trendy term. Oh, you're an ally. And some people stand in their space and they really are getting, like, freaking rubber bulleted to the head, and
Oh,
getting tear gassed, and they're out there and they're standing, hand in hand, and they're like, no, we are white bodies here to protect black bodies, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. I mean, like, not because they're getting rubber bulleted, but
I don't think anyone took it that way, Nikki.
but for we really found the topic interesting, and we found ourselves in this sort of juxtaposition with different people, and we were like, oh my gosh, this person kind of views allyship like this, well, this person kind of views allyship like this. And it's like, the thing of it is that in the right hands, it can be this really powerful thing, right? It can be this really, really powerful thing, because I can say till the cows come home, and until we get to Dante's seventh level of hell, and maybe there's like 8 or 9 or 10 levels of hell, and I can say, look, this is wrong. The way that brown people are being treated is wrong. And people are just like, yeah, can I have another espresso, please? And you're just like, WTF. And then the right person steps up and says, no, this is not okay. This treatment of this person lacks humanity. It's not even about the color of their skin. This is not humane. And because, even more so, you're isolating this group of people, whoever is the flavor of the day, right? You're isolating this group of people, and you're expounding upon the lack of humanity that you're going to exert on this group of people. And this person, and in the scope that we're talking about, most likely is a white person, they say, no, this is not okay. And then it's like freaking, E.F. Hutton spoke. Yes, I said it, Missy.
You just aged us again, Nikki. You've aged us.
And it's all quiet on the Western Front, and all of a sudden someone goes, oh, that white person said this is wrong. Oh,
We are wrong.
maybe this is, and it's not like brown people haven't been saying this poop for decades and generations, right? But somebody white says, oh, this is not so good. And everybody's like, oh, wait, did you hear that? So we're talking about allyship and the axis of allyship.
We gotta find a better. We need to do better. This is our Wonder Twins thing isn't working very well. Yeah, and I want to just scroll back here to what Erin said. She took it as an
I saw that.
eye-opening as to how she, as a white woman progressive who considers herself an ally, benefits and contributes to white supremacy. And I think that a lot of these points that we're talking about, for example, being the ally from afar or the I don't see color ally, which is coming, we're talking about it in a second. But, all of these things, there gets to be a point where you're in or you're out. It's like almost pregnant. You're not really ever almost pregnant. It doesn't happen that way. You're either pregnant, you're not pregnant, or you're in denial. And that's the thing about being an ally. People have made it so that, I can wear the right t-shirt and I can do this and I can be like, hey,
Right.
brown guy, you and I are in the same corner. Whoop, whoop. But there comes a point where if you're not fully in, you're out. Because if you're not speaking and acting in a way that is truly as aligning as an ally, people are being harmed. You're watching it happen. You're seeing it happen. You're contributing
Right.
to it happening, and you're choosing out of your comfort. And I'm not saying that safety is not a reason. If you're in a place where you might get shot with a not rubber bullet, that's a whole survival, fight, flight, limbic system thing that we're not going to get into, but that's a thing. But I'm talking about under normal circumstances, when you see somebody being mistreated because they're different. If you're somewhere and you hear somebody telling jokes about transgender people or about Black people or about Asians, do you just turn the other cheek and walk on by? You can't call yourself an ally if that's the way you roll, in my opinion. I am not the end all be all of allies, but you've got to stand up or just sit the hell down already. God, I'm tired.
Well, and the definition of ally that we have been discussing was from the perspective of someone being in a superior position to offer support. That it's specifically denoted that the person who considered themselves an ally was from a superior position, and so that's key, right? One of the things that I think that is a pet peeve. I don't, the I'm Black and I'm proud, except but actually you're white. That doesn't even bother me. We all know those people. We all know those people. And I don't mean that Rachel Dolan's chick or whatever.
Oh, Rachel Dolezal, that poor critter. You know what though? I mean, I think her heart was in the right place at the tanning bed. I mean, listen, she had some issues, but she tried her best. She tried her best to do some good things for the Black community. I think she is still Black, by the way. Blackish. In all seriousness, I kind of felt for her because something happened to her. Something happened to her in her life. I mean, I'm not one for compassion. I think I'm the only one in America that had compassion for Rachel Dolezal. I really did. I was like, first of all, I mean, and it wasn't like she was Vanilla Ice or anything. She didn't come out with like a rap song and then try to capitalize. You know what I mean? Rachel Dolezal, she was working for the NAACP. Like, she was in it.
At any rate.
I would call Rachel. I'd be like, Rachel, I mean, you might have gone about it the wrong way. What did she change her name to, like, Namibia, the forest? I don't know.
Why do you even know that? Like, why? Like, why do you even know that?
Because anytime there's a Rachel Dolezal story, I read it. If Rachel Dolezal was my neighbor, I would take her a bowl of soup.
So I see everyone scrolling up, and it's like, how to be an anti-racist, yada yada, blah, skippy, and I think all of that is all fine and well, and except that's a lot of catching up to do, right? And we're in the here and now, I just saw that because I just saw like a couple of people talking about it. And, the thing of it is that, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to mean it, and I don't so much in a really nice Care Bear and Rainbows way, don't really care what other people think about it. Black people can't be racist.
Don't be knocking my Rachel, by the way.
No, Black people can't be racist. And like, it's really, no, we don't have decades, we don't have generations of degrading an entire other race and then creating a system to maintain that degradation. If we talk about this, the system of racism, if we talk about how it is embedded in every fiber of especially this country, then no, Black people cannot be racist. Because it talks about the long-term degradation of one race over another. Me calling you honky or cracker for 30 seconds because you were in my way and wouldn't get out of my way does not make me racist. And honky's not even like racist. Honky is like the white guy who couldn't go up to the house of the Black girl that he was trying to date, so he had to sit in his car and honk. That's where honky comes from.
I had no idea.
I know, girl. I know. You didn't
I had
see.
No idea.
Cracker is cracker. Cracker is what it is. Literal. It's like you look like a saltine, boo. That's what cracker is. Cracker.
And I didn't get that either. I'm going to tell you something, and you're going to laugh at me again. So, I would say, oh gosh, my back is killing me. I got to go to the cracker, and people would be like.
You are such a dork, because you mean back cracker. You're a dork. You are such a dork. Who says?
When I say that, when I was living in Florida, they're like, stop saying that.
You were in Florida. You were below the Mason-Dixon line talking about you got to go to the cracker. You weren't even in Detroit at the Canadian border.
Nobody even cleared it up for me until I moved back to Pittsburgh.
Cracker is literal. Cracker is like you look like a saltine, right?
Dude, so.
But honky is not. Honky just literally describe, like honky is actually a verb. It just got translated to mean the white guy, but like it was if a white guy was dating a Black woman. And he couldn't walk up to the door for a number of reasons, right? He couldn't be seen walking up to a Black woman's door, and a Black woman's mama was probably like, keep your cracker ass down there.
I've never heard the term honky anywhere other than in the Jeffersons.
They would sit at the sidewalk in their cars, and they would honk, and your honky's outside. That is what honky means. Yes. And so then you have you don't know your history, but you're trying to be an ally. We can't start in the middle of the book and you decide, oh yeah, I'm just going to jump. No, you can't jump into battle if you don't understand how the battle started and the rules of combat.
Right.
You can't just jump in. And that the intent might be there, and the intent is great, intent and energy towards intent, but you have to understand what the rules are and how you can engage so that you are not being unintentional about your energy and your actions, thereby creating more potential for combustion in the wrong direction.
Fair.
Fair. Okay? And because we sometimes walk into these arenas, right, and we're like, ooh, I don't know what's going on. Let me, if you've ever danced and you've ever, come onto stage and it's just not your time to come on stage and you try to figure out how to exit gracefully and you're just like, ooh, that's not my, that's not my part, right? Yeah. So it's the same thing. And so when you don't understand the rules, when you don't understand the history, and you want to just step into, Mark, because remember the premium crackers used to come in the metal tin before they came in the box?
No,
So
I mean, they came in a white box with a blue print. I
no.
don't know this.
The premium crackers used to come in a metal tin. It was very reminiscent of the box where you get the 4 towers of the saltine crackers, but it used to come in a okay, whatever. So
And what year were you born?
I was born in 1971, but my parents were older.
I
My
was gonna say
my
your parents are
my
considerably older than mine.
my parents were my mother was 38 when she had me.
Wow.
Yeah, and my mother was born in 1935. And so,
Wow.
yeah, and my mother was also, it was really interesting. Like, okay, yeah, I'm squirreling. So my mother was one of 9. She was the first girl. She was the third born.
Hmm.
6 boys, 3 girls. And so, of the 9 siblings, my mother was actually one of the last to have her kids. So even though she was one of the oldest, she was the last. There are only 3 or 4 cousins younger than me. Like I'm one of the youngest cousins of the 21 original first cousins. So yes, and so my dad right now, I will be 49 in September. My dad just turned 83.
Does he still eat crackers out of tins?
No, he does not because they don't sell them that way, Misty Lynne Cauthen. But my dad drops the N-bomb. I'm like, dude, and my dad says hunky and cracker, and he says it like it's a preposition. And I don't begrudge. I'm just like, oh my God, Daddy, seriously? I'm like, really? Like, okay. So, my kids think it's hilarious. They think it's hilarious. Like, Mom, Grandpa says the N word. I'm like, he sure does. But my mom was born in 39. Oh, wow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it is different. It is different. And then it depends on where your people come from too, right? So, but when you have people who want to step into battle, but they don't understand the battle, our goal is not to like make you feel bad. It's not about Mark. But they don't understand the history of the battle. That's my thing. They don't understand the history about it. Like when you have to have that conversation, why the N word is even a term of endearment, because I think that's gross. No other culture uses their racial slurs as terms of endearment.
100.
And
Yes.
so now that ma is a term of endearment, now we have to explain why white people can't say it. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, why are we even having this conversation? And so, tell those clients you have business on
Yes.
Thursday night.
Exactly. Exactly.
But so when you go into that position, or when you go into a position of allyship and you don't understand why touching my child's hair is not okay.
Oh,
Or when you go in and you don't understand why when I you know get the good feeling and I decide the one day a year that I might go get my hair straightened and blow dried, and you're like, oh, did you get extensions? Because you're trying to act woke, but you ain't woke. You broke because you know nothing
oh, damn.
about you know nothing about shrinkage. You know, learn about what it is. Learn about what it is for a black woman, I'm saying that because I am a black woman, to be told how your hair grows out of your head is wrong. And the wrong is based on the fact that it does not come from the Eurocentric perspective. It's not
Sure.
wrong. It just doesn't, my hair is
It's
not
just
straight.
different.
It's
It's just
different.
different.
But there
Yeah.
has to be legislation enacted that says, no, you can wear your hair the way it grows out of your head.
Pause. So, did you see the article out of Jamaica where they have banned kids from wearing dreadlocks to school?
I mean, what the fuck?
In Jamaica.
In Jamaica. Bob frickin' Marley is rolling over.
So wait, so they're escalating this. This is going to go to the Supreme Council, whatever, of Jamaica, which is where? It's still in the UK. Which
Right.
is amazing.
No, it's
That
not. No, it's not, because don't
no,
the
I don't want good
barristers?
amazing.
No, but don't the barristers still wear those white wigs, right?
Yes.
So okay, so
But
colonization.
it wasn't the European people, settlers, descendants that made these decisions in Jamaica. That's the thing. That's the
Right, but
funny
what
thing
you
about the whole
do,
argument.
but what you do have, we know this. We know this. We know that there is a subset of Black people who want to align with what is Eurocentric. And
Sure.
if growing locks keeps you in the hooga booga perspective.
Are there 2 or 3 G's in that? Hooga booga.
And it's like trying to explain, and so we're back to that. Do you understand the battle that you're fighting? Do you understand the history? Because now we're talking about aspects of colorism. And so potentially to limit education for sure, Jessica, but there is also this subset of people who really want to align with the Eurocentric standard.
Which is okay, we need to just, in terms of what beauty and standards for beauty are, requirements.
Mark.
I mean, this is just a freaking nightmare across the board. Here we are in the United States where we're still, and having to enact legislation on this. Skin bleaching is still a thing, and it's amazing to me that we've got people bleaching while we've got other people dipping themselves in vats of brownness. I mean, we are so confused.
Right.
And wouldn't the best way to just knock all of this stuff down be to accept who we are as individuals, what we look like, whatever? I mean, if your nose hairs are growing out of your nose, I mean, as long as they're not in my dinner, I don't care. And I don't want to look at it, but it's, if that's your jam, go for it. Some people like that. Some people like stinky people. I was watching a show, and the one guy liked guys who had stinky armpits. He sniffed the guy's pits. I'm just saying. Yes, I saw that documentary. I watched most of it like this because some of it I was like, how do people not know this? And other parts of it I was like, oh, even I didn't know that. So, I mean, I think it was really enlightening, that documentary. Um, but the thing is that we use beauty standards of other cultures as yet another way to
Right.
suppress and repress people.
Right.
Let's go back to the indigenous peoples and how they were scalped, and how this is one of the reasons why they don't like tomahawk chops and scalping and all these
Right.
inferences that we make.
Yeah.
Aaron, yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Aaron, I just do so much with my hair. It's just.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, and so here's the deal, right? I've been out at the club, and I've had Black men come up to me and say, wow, you would look great if you straightened your hair. Really? Oh, okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that you don't want to date me, because that's all I took that as. And, it's, like I said, if you don't understand the rules of engagement, then you can't be a proper ally. You have to understand, there's dissension amongst the ranks within Black people. You have
100%. Yes.
Yeah, you have to understand that. You have to understand when you put a really fair-skinned Black woman in front, Angela Davis aside, when you put a super fair-skinned Black person in front, she does not speak for the super cocoa brown Black girl, because the experiences are so vastly different. The experiences are so different that to assume that they have the same perspective, it's not okay. because the experiences are different.
Which goes back even to the allyship statements that we've been making, within our own community, standing away or not aligning yourself with
Right.
somebody of darker skin. And we can say that colorism is a different issue and it's an internal issue, but it's not an internal issue if it is mirrored outside of our community. And it very much is in a lot of different ways. We train people just like they train us.
Right. So I'll tell you a personal story. Um, my father, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother was very fair skinned, very, very fair skinned. And my paternal grandfather, I believe, was either biracial or like white, black, biracial, right? Because there's a bunch of different biracial, like white, black, biracial, or like the son of two biracial people. And so my father, when he was younger, was pretty fair skinned. And then my mother was dark, chocolate. She wasn't blue black, but she was dark.
Wait,
And
what?
she wasn't blue black. Blue black is a thing. Blue
Oh, I
black
thought
is,
you
yeah.
said blue back.
No,
And I
no,
was like,
blue, no,
what
no,
is
blue
this
black.
term that I don't know?
No, blue
Okay.
black, which are Indians who are so dark. They literally look, they have like a bluish, purplish tinge.
Sure.
But my mother was definitely dark skinned. And so, but beautiful. Like my mother, beautiful. And father was, he's really good looking. And when my mother was accomplished. My mother was like, went to nursing school, like right out of high school. One of three blacks in Mount Sinai Nursing School in Chicago at the time. Owned her own businesses. I mean, like my mother was very accomplished. And so it wasn't like, just my dad was dragging home some dregs from the street. Like my mother was very accomplished. And my grandmother said, "Why did you marry her? She is dark. You are going to have dark kids." And
And you hear
that's
it all
like,
the time,
you
though.
hear it all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's, and my grandparents had other issues. Like that was definitely an issue, but my grandparents, they had some other issues. But they were a little touched. But that was my father's life. That was his life. Like that, it was about, like, imagine, being told, don't, like, she's too dark. And then in stark contrast, his brother, like my aunt, is fair skinned. She's black, but she's very fair skinned. And you don't think about stuff like that because obviously I wasn't around when my uncle and my aunt got together, but like that's a thing in people, like, good hair, bad hair, AKAs, brown bag test. You don't know that if you don't understand how black sororities and fraternities were created. To be an AKA, you had to be lighter than the paper bag.
I didn't know that either.
Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. That's the brown bag test.
I grew up in the suburbs.
You weren't even going to be considered to be an AKA back in the day, like when it started. Like, I don't think they do that much. But if you look at AKAs and deltas, they do still kind of skew that way. Deltas tend to be darker and AKAs tend to be lighter. But yes, to be an AKA, you had to be lighter than a brown paper bag. And it's like, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Because you can't control that, right? It's not like you can't control how you came out. It's like you are not getting into that organization by default because you are too dark. So when we talk about that understanding of the rules of engagement, you really have to understand. Like you have to get it. You have to know. You have to be able to take a step back and not just the history of this country and what has been done to I'm going to say blacks, different cultures, different races, different nationalities. They have different experiences. Some similar, but definitely some different. But you have to understand that because you have to understand when you're faced with certain things, you have to understand how to respond or at least to shut up,
And
like,
listen and
and
learn.
listen and learn.
But this is also why certain things hit a lot harder than others, because these are challenges within our community.
Right.
Good hair, bad hair.
Right.
The girls with the good hair are considered prettier. And that is, sure, is it based on Eurocentric standards? Absolutely, but it's something that we have continued to
Right.
perpetuate as
Right.
we go forward.
Right.
And that matters. It matters when we get pissed and we go off on somebody about, because they said something wrong, maybe just because they didn't understand, they didn't know. You and I talk all the time about people who are quick to just snap off on somebody
Right.
for saying something without looking at the context and without looking
Right.
at the fact that maybe this person just genuinely doesn't know and they're trying to understand. That's one of the things that, just as an aside, people reach out to us and say that they enjoy about these conversations is that they get to learn things and even ask questions in a
Right.
safe environment, because lots of people want to know what it is, but they don't know the rules of engagement in a live theater.
Right.
So it's like, if you're standing in the shooting range, you can shoot everything dead on in the heart. But if you are like running down the street trying to avoid being shot, it's not going to be easy to just turn and shoot that bad guy.
Right.
You can't triangulate that quickly. There's so many other things that go
Right.
on. And we, as people who want to be heard and who want to have allies. Now, I'm not saying that we need to, like, anybody that comes and knocks on the door and does this, I'm not saying that we have to be like, okay, you're our ally. But what I am saying is that if somebody comes and genuinely wants to learn and grow, don't ask me to be Google. Maybe come in having read something out of Google,
Right.
and, have put it into practice, and then we can work on something together. I believe in always education. I don't know anything about Russians, but if I want to know about Russians, I'm going to study about Russians. Then when I meet a Russian, I'll probably say something in bad Russian and they'll laugh at me and say something nasty in Russian. But they might even say, no,
Right.
this is how you say it. And here's an answer.
What, okay, I'm sorry. What did you think honky meant? What did you?
I didn't know. Okay, so I'm from Pittsburgh. And in Pittsburgh, there are a lot of people of Hungarian descent, and they call them hunkies, and they call themselves hunkies. So when I was young, I didn't know what a hunky was from a hunky from a honky, and then I was really confused, and then I just blocked it all out of my mind. It was too much for me.
For those of you who are just joining us, ThoughtFlow. Misty did not know what honky meant, but
I mean,
no.
honestly, how many of you knew that honky was the guy that stood outside and honked the horn? I mean, when I was watching Mr. Willis on The Jeffersons, he was not honking the horn. He was in the next deluxe apartment in the sky. How was I supposed to know?
We are talking about the access or the axis of allyship and just all of the different meanings, or no, not meanings, the different frameworks that ally can reside in. And so we've discussed about, I'm black and I'm proud, except no, you're not, because you're white. And just like we've discussed.
I feel like if they know what honky meant, they automatically get a temporary black card. They have to prove it moving forward.
Oh, is that sort of like if they can sit down and play spades?
I don't know how to play spades.
Oh, you know what? You know what? You need to stop.
Honestly, I've never
Lord.
played spades, and I feel like I've cheated.
Mark Smith, where are you, Mark? The hell?
We were playing spades. We were playing
Yes.
other things. See, he didn't know. See,
Dang.
we grew up in the suburbs, and I gotta tell you, our street growing up. Ask Jessica. It was the best street ever. It was so multicultural. Like, right, they have this show called The Kids of Degrassi Street, like, and they're in Canada, and there's kids from all
Yeah, I know
places.
that.
We grew up on Cottonwood Drive, but it was very much like that. We had a military family. We had the crazy white kids around the corner that like attacked people. We had people stealing kickballs.
Mark, don't look at me.
we had the adopted Asian girl, we had everybody, we had special needs, we had this, we had that. And so honestly and genuinely, it didn't become a problem until we moved into like the middle school where the schools were blending from the other
Right,
side of
right, right,
town,
right.
playing in the front yard, playing release, playing Foursquare in my backyard, remember? I mean, this is what it was, such a different environment. And then once everything came together, I know I, for one, had a lot of culture shock. I was like, what is this? Why are people dicks? It didn't make sense to me because that's not the way any of us were raised.
Right.
Even with the people that we didn't like, those parents still looked out for the other
Right.
kids on the street.
Right.
It was the blending, the melting pot, in not in the way that we talked about it in the other week, but it was the salad that we
Right.
talked about,
Right.
where everybody had a different flavor and that was okay.
Right.
So it was a very different experience growing up. And honestly, I think that's a lot of the reason why I don't know things like playing spades or whatever. We were doing other things.
Yeah,
We were
that's
playing
okay.
until the streetlight came on all day, every day.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But I'm going to jump us back on topic because
Oh, but wait,
yes.
I want to talk about, we talked about talking about the I've struggled. So, I know how it feels to be in your shoes, that kind of ally. And I want to know, listeners, please chime in, but I also would like to know your take on it. I actually got into a fairly heated conversation with somebody it was also a conversation about privilege too. And it was like, I might not be Black, but I have had a really rough life. And so therefore, I have no privilege and I'm just like you. And so we're in the same, we see each other. And I was like, but it doesn't really work like that. She was like, oh, but it does.
And it's interesting because the irony of her saying that reeks of her privilege.
Completely reinforced my point.
Right. It was like the billboard went up. And so I had a client who would cry me a freaking river. And she's like, no, I grew up poor. And no, I wasn't privileged and I didn't have scholarships. And I was like, but your financial circumstance changed. No. And she said, well, yes, but I worked hard for it. And I was like, so you were poor and now you're not. And she's like, well, yeah. And I was like, do you think you were poor because you were white? And she's like, well, no, my dad left. And I was like, do you think your circumstance to better yourself was hindered because you were white? Well, no. And I said, I said, because you can change your financial standing, but you cannot change your color. And so what sparked this conversation, she's a business owner. She does very well for herself. She's a client of mine. I own my own business. What sparked the conversation was, at the time, she had asked me, somehow we got on the topic of business loans. And I said, no, I can't get a loan. I'm not even going to jump through those hoops of fire. I don't need it, right? The average small business loan in the city of Chicago is basically $500,000. And I really just didn't need that much money. That's what a small business, and a lot of the small businesses are really based on, in terms of getting help in terms of loans, bank accounts, they're based on commerce. They're based on a product that you're, right, okay, right? I don't have that. Once I was going to purchase the equipment, it was going to be a service. And so what a lot of people didn't realize was you could apply for a small business loan in Chicago and a Black person and a white person of pretty equal standing. And 9 out of 10 times, the Black person was going to be declined. Mm-hmm. And she just didn't believe that. And I was like, well, I don't
care. I mean,
it's not a secret. There's no reason for me to say it. You know what I mean?
On paper, it's statistics.
Right. And people were like, oh my gosh, that's not true. And this, and if you're walking in and if you have everything you're supposed to have, and it's like for some people, it's really flabbergasting to think that what goes on is so egregious. Fast forward to last month, and there is an entire expose about how JP Morgan Chase literally did not give mortgages to any other people in the city of Chicago except if you were white and if you were affluent. And to the tune of over 80%. And people are like, hashtag clutches pearls. And I'm like, yeah, really? I'm like, no. And Jamie Dimon can sit at a table full of honkies and crackers and talk about how can we be more inclusive? And I'm like, dude, it's not a dissertation. Give money to the black people who show up in your bank. This is not rocket science. And so when you are not educated and you don't understand the rules of engagement to the battle that you are stepping foot into,
Yes.
it's difficult. Because that's why black people start going off on people and start getting crazy, because you truly don't understand.
And we get tired of being disqualified from a
Correct.
conversation or told that we're wrong. It's like, this is my life that I live every day.
Correct.
So how are you going to tell me that this isn't happening? And don't give me the, oh, you should try harder, you should fill in the blank. I'm not filling in any more blanks.
Right.
I have all of the, like your house situation, I have done everything I need to do. I have all of the qualifications, and you are still moving the yardstick. No. And this is, I agree,
Yeah.
this is when people go savage and bananas, but we still have to do better.
We have to.
We're better than bananas.
And I think one of the ones that is the worst to me is the white savior. You coming in and saying, oh my gosh, this is wrong. This is horrible. I am so offended. And I'm going to fix this. No, you're actually in the way. You're in the way, and you're in the way because your need to fix this thing, you're right, it is gross. It is egregious. But this is not about you feeling better. This is not about you saving the world and then having your t-shirt, your t-shirt that says, look at what I did, right?
And P.S., you can't fix something if you just blew in on the last turnip truck. You were outside honking the horn, and then you came in and you were like, this is terrible, I'm going to fix it. What's going on? Have you even taken long enough time to assess the situation to figure out what needs to happen next? Or have you just kind of decided that, well, we all need you? Clearly, the poor downtrodden gay, trans, black people, Native American, Asians, whatever, short people, too tall with broken leg people, they all need you now.
Yep.
And
you're not factoring them in. You're not asking the force of help. You're not asking how you can help. You are forcing your help upon people and then getting upset because your help is deemed unworthy or it's not the right kind of help. And that's just a human thing, right? If I need help and you tell me how you're going to help me, then I don't need your help. Because I need help in the way that I need help.
Well, and so right now I'm listening to a podcast. It's called, well, I just finished it actually. It's called The Missionary. And it's about that Renee, whatever her last name is, who ran the clinic in Uganda that killed 105 kids. And they took action against her because she wasn't a medical practitioner. She wasn't like nothing. She had no qualifications, but she'd gone there during a mission when she was a kid or in high school. And she decided that she needed to go to Uganda and open a clinic and help people. This was her mission from God. And she got into this place in her mindset, and none of it has been 100% proven. There's a lot of he said, she said. Politically, there's a lot that goes into it, of course. But, we hear these stories all the time where people think that they're helping and they fly
Right.
in, they're going to rescue and save the
Right.
day without actually
Hey,
looking
Aaron.
at what
Right.
that means and what the ramifications are and
Right.
how it's going to be perceived sometimes for the people that come after you.
Right.
There are
Right.
missionaries that do really good things. I'm not a big fan of missionary. If it's religious, I've got big issues with that, period. It speaks to me of imperialism. I don't like it. But there are people that do good things. So please, if you've been on a mission, do not send me an email telling me that I am the great black Satan, because this is just my opinion. But I do feel that a lot of people, in their need to help the poor, downtrodden,
Right.
fill in the blank people, go in, with big brass balls and
Right.
nothing to back it up and do more harm than good. So, in fact, the agency that helped bring the lawsuit against her was called No White Saviors, run by white women who'd seen this alongside with
Yeah.
African women who'd seen it as well. So
Right.
really, really interesting.
Well, and then it's not even just that. So I think that steps into another realm, right? If you go in and you decide these people need my help, you actually stop listening to them, and you create this persona, whether real or imagined, as if these people are less than. And then that becomes, see, it's one thing not to have resources, but not having resources doesn't equal you're dumb, or doesn't equal you're not educated, or doesn't equal that you can't be resourceful. But
Correct.
somehow these tropes, it drives me crazy, the whole white savior thing. I'm going to help you regardless. And then it just becomes this thing of where you're taking over people. You're taking over, and you can't take, once you take over fighting to be anti-racist or to be an ally to black people or people of color, whatever you want to call all the brown people, and just shove them into one big gumball machine.
Oh, here we go.
Not going to say it, Misty. But
You just
when
did.
you try to take over, you're actually the dictionary definition of what you're trying to defend. You become this thing. You become the racist, because if you're still keeping people in that position of you're less than, you need my help, I have to take over, I have to assume the superior position. Just because you put a freaking smile on your face, it is no less degrading. And that is
Yes.
what people don't understand. So that whole like white savior crap, we don't need to be saved. We're not asking you to save us.
Yeah. I feel like the point in being an ally is that, at the end of the day, you have to walk with somebody.
Yes.
It's got to be a collective journey. It
Yes.
can't inhibit growth. It's got to be, there's a maturation process that happens when you're working together. And like Mark says, nobody wants to push the boulder up the hill. But if you've got to push the boulder up the
Right.
hill, to have somebody pushing that boulder up the hill alongside of you is very, very different from having somebody that's going to stand at the top of the hill and tell you exactly what you need to do to move that
Right.
boulder,
Right.
but not pitch in. Or,
Right.
maybe they'll hire some sort of engineer to look at the angle and pitch of the hill and tell you what tools you need, but then just stand there and say lots of luck. That's not an ally. That's a dictator.
Lots of
That's a
luck.
real pain in the ass.
And it, so then we get blamed for being ungrateful. We get blamed for being ungrateful. And that's not, no, it can't inhibit growth. And it can't inhibit growth, and it can't be, I think sometimes that white people forget the reason that we're in this situation is because they started it. And so when you continue to put your spin on it, when you continue to want it to, you want to create change, you want to fix it, but you're fixing it from your perspective.
Right.
Which means you're going to protect, in some respects, your interests, and that's just human nature, right? If you do something and you give me the choice, well, of course I'm going to be like, well, I'm just going to hold this off on the side for me, not because you're trying to take more. That's just what we do, right?
It's protection sometimes,
right?
Yeah.
And so when someone is taking the lead, they do so from their perspective. Mm-hmm. And they do so with keeping in mind what, hey, Sarita, they do so in terms of keeping in mind what will also serve them.
Correct.
So if you're trying to deconstruct the construct of white supremacy, but you're the white person trying to do it, then you're never going to quite leave that ethos.
Absolutely, you can't, because it's comfortable.
Yes.
Once again, if you want to make a change, you have to be uncomfortable.
Right.
And if we want to make a change, we have to be uncomfortable too. Listen, I know some people of different colors, so I'm going to use the term people of color. I'm in the gumball machine, Nikki, damn it. But I know some people of many colors who are like, I'm not going to deal with a person who is like that, who's that color. I'm not going to deal with a white person. Well, we know that if the problem started over there and we have to work with them to get the problem solved, there's only been one of two ways to fix it. We work together and we fix it, or we do a barnstorming and blow shit up. That is never going to win hearts and minds, and it's never going to get anybody feeling any better about everything, anything, in fact. You know, we both know people who think that their way of making things better overall for everybody is to aggressively degrade the people that are coming to them to try to learn what it is to be an ally. And you know what? I'm telling you that I, as a Black person, don't want to hear that shit. So why do I want to hear it from anybody? I don't.
No, Erin, you cannot dictate the narrative if it's not the experience that you've lived. And that's another tricky part about allyship, because good, bad, right, or wrong, because the framework of this country especially is from the white perspective. It's from the white perspective. People of color, especially Black people, have lived in that narrative. They
love you, Jess.
Bye, Jess.
So our girl just started law school.
Whoop, whoop.
So you get those assignments done. You're going to have to probably rescue both of us at one point, Jess. So you go get that education.
But when you try to, and this is, you know, like I asked this question today to a group of people that I was speaking with, and I said, so yeah, when have you been the only white person in an all Black scenario? And you know, they were like, don't make eye contact, don't make eye contact. And it's like, but Black people do that all the time. Black people do that all the time, because the world here in the U.S. is a white construct.
Sure.
And so that is our experience. Our experience is, you know, is to navigate. Our experience is to navigate all kinds of spaces. And so, but then when you don't choose to navigate and you're trying to dictate, it's very disingenuous. And then when you slap that label on there, well, I don't see color, that's so gross, because it's like, really? Really, you don't? Because you got a red shirt on. You know, or really you don't because your kid's out there in the sun and you forgot to put sunscreen on them and they are red as a freaking lobster.
Oh, see that a lot too.
And so when someone says, I don't see color, what you are saying to a person of color is, I don't see you.
Though I don't believe that that's the intention. I believe the intention behind
Sure.
I don't see color is so what we're saying here, friends, is find a different way. I don't see color is offensive because it's saying that you have chosen to erase what makes us unique and what gives us a sense of pride,
Right.
right? You know,
Right.
you're just kind of saying, well, you know, I don't see you that way, but you have to. And
You
even if
have
you
to.
don't, everybody else does.
Yes, that's the important part. That is the important part. Even if you don't see color, the reality of it is we live in a place that is dictated at times by exactly the thing you're saying you don't see. So then how can you be an ally to me
It's
if you,
gaslighting. It's like you must be
yes.
crazy because I don't see color. I, I, I mean, what are you talking about?
And then it becomes that thing of, right, we've all heard this, we've all seen it. Why is everything about race to you? Well, because we kind of live in a world where everything is about race.
But you wouldn't know that because you don't see color.
And these are the conversations and the interactions that Black people have on sometimes a daily basis. We have a cute name. We have a cute name for them. They're called microaggressions. And it's kind of funny, right? Because they're not really micro. Like some of them have huge, profound impacts. But we deal with this on a daily basis. So,
Let me reframe it for you. So you're sitting in a store and you're at Starbucks, in fact, my favorite place to beat up. And this light is freaking bright. Oh my God. Ah! Um, so someone who is trying to get out of the door, but they can't reach it because, they're disabled and they're trying to get out of the door, but they can't push it. And do you go up to that person and say, I don't see wheelchairs? Well, God damn it, why can't you see this wheelchair? I'm sitting in this chair. I don't see wheelchairs. You wouldn't
oh,
do that. You know why you wouldn't do that? Because that would make you a
Ma-
penis.
wait, Patty, are you asking seriously? Because you said macro versus micro.
I think she's saying change the name of micro to macro.
Okay. I'm like, is this like nutrients, right? You have micronutrients and you have
I'm going to start counting my macros.
um I don't know. I just think it's a funny little term. I've always thought it was a funny little term because I've never thought them to be do you guys think that I don't see color similar to the oppressive positivity that is so prevalent now? You got these big words, Aaron.
I
Jeez.
love the way she talks.
I know. I'm like, dang, girl, I need like a okay, like ignorance is bliss, like telling
Yes,
someone with
a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
hundred
yeah,
percent.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, yeah, it's like
yeah,
when somebody's having a really bad day, a tree fell on their house, their car blew up, somebody stole their money, like they got caught in a Nigerian scam, and then you say to them, you know what, Nikki, it's going to be okay. Tomorrow's going to be another day, and you're just going to wake up and you're going to be like, damn, I've got nothing, but I woke up today. Screw that. Damn it. No, I'm really mad. It's like that. Yes, Aaron.
yeah,
I think I don't see color is an attempt to be that. And yes, Patty, spiritual bypassing.
yeah.
And I think in some ways it's to reframe the discomfort. And I think in other ways it's 100% to duck, dodge, and get away from the elephant in the room.
And to say that you don't see color, then I think the more profound thing to me is if you can't even see what color my skin is, then how do you engage in the
How can you
battle?
advocate for me?
Right? How do you engage in the battle? How do you even take that step? And then that means we can't even enter the realm of the colorism conversation, which is so prevalent amongst Black people, especially. And that's a thing with Brazilians. And that is a thing with, I know, some other Latino cultures. Apparently, it was a thing with Sammy Sosa. Oops, yes, I did say that out loud. But these are all of the, when someone says, I don't see color, you literally took the freaking cat in the hat thingamajigger with thing one and thing two, and you just came through and you just got all these arms and you just swept some stuff up and you're just like, okay, all right, we're good, I'm done. You can't even have that conversation. And then it's like, I'm not trying to sit there, and I'm not going to sit there and explain to you why you should see my color and that my color is brown. Like, I'm not going to explain that to you. I'm not going to explain to you why my children are more fair skinned, but one of them has really nappy hair. These are all things that, because you have chosen not to see the very thing that makes us, in some respects, distinctive.
Right.
And
Right.
it's crushing. It's at times crushing, and it's exhausting, because I think, I know one of the reasons why having a conversation about allyship for me is important is because, well, obviously we're in the time that we're in, but it's exhausting trying to explain to someone essentially what we're asking to be seen as is human. We are asking for what we've always been asking for, is equity. And I think that
Right.
it's an interesting statement, and I'm sure we've all seen this on Facebook and just other places. Isn't it interesting that Black people are asking for equality and not seeking vengeance? And that's huge. Black people are loving, Black people are warm, Black people are intelligent, Black people are smart, they are charismatic, they are all of these things, but they are human. And I don't fear walking down the street and seeing a group of Black guys. That's not a fear to me. I fear walking down the street, if y'all know Chicago and if you know Wrigleyville and if you know where the Cubs play, I fear walking down the street when the Cubs lose a game. I fear the white frat boys because they are volatile. Um, I
I
fear,
fear walking down the street at night with any dudes that aren't with me. I mean, and that's just the way I am. My dad taught me be ready to fight at all times. And, I mean, and it's
and
true,
check that
ask
box.
Marco.
Check
But,
that box.
it's the fact of the matter is I can't tell you how many women I know who've been assaulted, how many white women I know who've been assaulted by white males, but in their mind, they're still worried about Black men crossing the street,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Wrigley Field, Aaron? Yeah. I mean,
Well, and
our,
Jenna's there too in
yeah,
Chicago. She knows.
yeah.
It's a problem, and there's
And isn't that
so
something, right?
many
Like,
directions
like,
to
like,
take it.
isn't that like a thing, right? They've been assaulted by white men, but their overwhelming fear is towards Black men.
Yeah.
And that's like a thing. And it's really, really interesting because I don't know, like that's, and it doesn't mean that Black men don't commit crimes. I mean, of course, it doesn't mean that. That is not what we're saying. But, it's an interesting thing because on the other side of that, um, a white woman, and we've seen it, it's a thing. White women weaponize the police against Black men for their advantage.
Some whom are allies, who would call themselves allies, who would
Right.
use the label of ally. And I think that's an important thing to think about. And actually, Nikki, it's actually a good place for us to stop because it's 8:30, man.
Oh, 7:30. I was like, it's 8:30? Over in hoity-toity land.
In hoity-toity land where I reside, it is 8:30, which means, oh wait, Jenna says she's in the North Shore. It's ridiculous. And Erin says one of the most entitled groups, white cisgender sports fans. Oh, don't get me started. But it's
Oh,
true.
Jennifer, are you like up by like Highland Park? She'll come back.
Bomb. Yeah. You would love her.
Because I'm in Wheaton.
When I'm in Chicago, we're all getting together. Just so you know, one day when we get out of COVID hell, there's gonna be a powwow. And in fact, we're gonna do a ThoughtFlow in Chicago, someplace with good food, please. Anyway.
Hello, yes. It's Chicago.
It's true. Everywhere is good food. Oh
Our God, mediocre food is good food, man. You can't even.
Well, on
what
that
are we
note,
doing,
guys?
Are we?
No, we can't. We've got to go. It's 8:30.
Oh, okay, all right.
And
I am in Wheaton, Jennifer Nichols.
Yes. You guys should get together seriously. And Erin, if you're up there too, you guys get together, and I'll cry. I'll be here by myself. Get me out of here.
Yes, I'm still in the house struggle. We'll do a thought bomb, and we'll keep it going.
We will do a thought bomb, yes, and we will talk about so much more. I mean, thank you for putting up with us for a whole hour and a half.
I know. And thanks, you guys.
I mean, if I hadn't walked in there and used my power, we would still be talking. You guys would be like, please, give me some coffee. But thank you. I think this is a really great conversation. Yes. We're going to keep having it for the next several weeks. We've got some guests that are really, really tuned in and tuned up with this whole topic of what it is to be an ally. And they've got some really fantastic backstories. Backstories that we're excited to share. I'm excited to introduce them to you. Really cool and groovy people. So everybody, thank you. Love you so much for playing in our sandbox.
Thanks, you guys.
We will see you next time. It'll probably be a thought bomb.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin.
That's okay, Erin. Listen, you're probably here for the last 25 minutes. We've been on forever.
I know. No worries.
Drive. There we go. See, look, bringing people together here. This is beautiful. Everybody, good night.
All right, guys. Good night.
Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Ciao, ciao. Love you, Marco.
Bye, guys.
Ciao, ciao.